Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here today. For those of you joining me live, welcome. For those of you catching the replay, welcome. Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I am starting to finally feel like I'm getting back into some routine after the holidays. Um, and I was just talking to a client on my coaching call today, and we were just, like I think sometimes we can find a really good place with routines and rituals that are really good for us. The pillars of our day, I like to call them the things that kind of keep us on that path toward healing and recovery. But there are periods of time where we stray from that. And I think that's human. I think it's normal. I think the holidays are a very common time when that happens. And it's not because we're not good at routines or we, got away from them for some bad reason. It's just sometimes we stray from our routines. But the great thing about a routine is that if you do it enough and you train your brain and your body enough with new routines or with your rituals and your routines, it should be easy to get back to. And if it's not easy to get back to, you can do a slow reset. You can habit stack and add one thing at a time. Or you can do kind of like a micro routine, a smaller version of it until you feel ready for the full version of it. So, anyway, if you're struggling with getting back to your routine, I'm here to tell you this is totally normal. It's human of you. And you can get back to the things that feel good. If you need help with this is something that I totally do with my clients all the time, because what we're really trying to do is to help them build a day, to design a day where every piece of that day helps them in their journey toward recovery in some way. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in because it's something we were just talking about in my coaching call today. But what we're here to talk about today in this training is the three-step formula that you can use to calm your brain and ease your pain. And, you know, I think what came up in the poll this week is, people are kind of wondering, why does my pain feel worse on some days, even when nothing has changed physically? Sometimes we get a flare up and we don't understand why. Um, Sometimes pain feels unpredictable, like we don't understand why this one activity triggered pain this time, and I think that's pretty common. I encourage you to remember that usually it isn't just one thing that makes our pain flare up. Some things make them flare up immediately, some things have a delay, and that makes it really confusing to try to figure out what's the thing that I did. So I always encourage you to remember to think of it like there's a lot of things filling our cup in any given moment. Our nervous system is getting a ton of input about a ton of different things, not to mention daily stressors and all of the things that fill our cup. And so I don't want you to think that it's usually one thing that makes the cup overflow and we have a flare up. It's usually multifactorial. But today, for today's topic, I'm going to reveal how fear, which can come from many different sources, does amplify our pain signals, and then the three-step formula to calm your brain and ease your pain. And this could completely change how you see pain management. And so, again, welcome. If we haven't met, my name is Dr. Anna Redmond. I'm a pain psychologist, I'm a chronic pain strategist, and I'm the creator of the Anti-Threat System. I'm also the founder of my Breaking Through Pain program. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about and highlight the critical connection between what we feed our brain and how it impacts the threat safety ratio, which is how much threat is our nervous system perceiving, how much safety is it perceiving. That ratio should be safety. There's more safety there than threat, because if there's more threat, the brain thinks it needs to create pain to protect us. So we want to kind of talk about how this impacts that threat safety ratio. So we're talking about calming the brain, reducing its perception of danger, and this directly helps manage chronic pain. So I'll tell you what I mean, and you will leave feeling crystal clear about all of this and how to do it. Before we dive in, as usual, if you feel kind of already ready for this, you've listened to some of my other trainings, you know what I'm all about, and you're just ready to go, I invite you to book a call with me. If you just already feel like you're ready to explore what this would look like for you specifically, what your kind of unique path to recovery would look like. I've worked with all kinds of women with all kinds of complex pain issues. Some have had it for decades. And with all of these women, we are able to find this clear path for recovery, and we do it together. So if you're kind of interested in kind of seeing if you're the right fit for that kind of program and what that might look like for you, go to the comments. I have my calendar, my booking link there. It's a free complimentary call. We'll kind of look at what you're currently doing in your pain management, what your days look like, and what might need to shift in order to feel better. If you have any questions and you're not ready to book, my DMs are always open. I try to respond pretty quickly. Feel free to reach out at any time. But back to the topic. So you've likely heard things like this at some point in a doctor's office or from well-meaning other people. They might say, you need to be careful or you'll make things worse. Your pain is permanent. You'll just have to learn to live with it. Avoid moving too much or you might cause more damage. And while these statements, can be meant to protect you, they often actually instead create a cascade of fear and hypervigilance. Your brain starts to interpret these warnings as signs of danger, even when there's no actual harm happening in the moment. And that's where the real problem begins. So I want to tell you what I mean by that. So, first, we can fall into a movement avoidance cycle. So, here's what happens when you're told to be careful or you'll make things worse, you can begin to avoid movements or activities that you perceive as risky. This amplifies fear. So over time, your body becomes less accustomed to movement. It can lead to deconditioning and stiffness, and this can actually increase pain when you try to move again. And this reinforces the fear that movement is dangerous for your brain. And so this will keep you stuck in a loop of avoidance and keep your brain afraid of movement. The second is, it can cause, these types of statements can cause hypervigilance around sensations. So here's what happens. Statements like your pain is permanent or you have to get used to this can make you feel kind of overly attuned to these sensations in your body because you're scanning for signs of worsening pain or new injuries. And this amplifies fear. This hyper focus can create a heightened state of anxiety where even normal bodily sensations like muscle tension or a twinge are interpreted as threatening, and this can increase your perception of pain. Finally, the other thing that happens is that we lose trust in our bodies. So when we're told that our body is fragile, or we're made to feel that our body is fragile, or that we need to learn to live with it, this can actually lead to feelings of helplessness and mistrust in our body's resilience. And this amplifies fear. This lack of trust creates mental and emotional stress, which further sensitizes our nervous system over time. It makes it more sensitive, like that alarm that goes off a bit too easily. And over time, our brain associates even routine activities with danger. It amplifies pain signals in an attempt to protect you from harm. And so here's a really common example that I'll share with you from one of my clients. She was, like imagine, and I'm sure many of you can relate. She was told, really you need to avoid bending or lifting because it might worsen your pain. And, at first, this advice feels reasonable, it feels protective. So she stopped lifting grocery bags. She stopped bending down to tie her shoes. She even started hesitating to pick up her child. Over time, these activities that were once second nature actually became sources of anxiety, whether she was aware of it in every moment or not. And weeks or months later, she attempted to pick up something light. I can't remember if it was like a laundry basket or a small box, whatever. She felt a sharp pain. And this pain wasn't because she damaged something, but it was because her muscles had weakened. Her body wasn't used to that movement anymore. It was an amount of physical load that her nervous system now perceived as threatening. So her brain interpreted this pain as proof that the doctor was right. Bending and lifting are dangerous. And this reinforced her belief that she needs to avoid these movements altogether. So over time, she becomes even more cautious. She avoids even safe activities. And this avoidance led for her to further muscle weakening, joint stiffness, even more heightened pain sensitivity. And the cycle of avoidance deepened. It made daily life feel more restrictive. This sort of started to fuel like a constant undercurrent of fear that any movement could make things worse. Now, I'm going to take a stand here, and I want to first acknowledge I'm not a physician, I'm not a medical provider, I'm not the person ruling out red flags. But typically, once pain becomes chronic, we can think of it as a chronic condition and not something acute where damage or injury is likely, right? And if it were for you specifically, your doctors are very good at determining this and they would have told you already. So I'm getting a message that my live stream is experiencing performance issues. Let me close a couple of windows here. I don't know, see if that helps. I don't know if it's actually experiencing issues, if any of you are noticing something like that. Like I said, I'm going to take a stand here and I'm going to challenge this idea that pain is permanent, that movement is dangerous, that your body is fragile. This is probably kind of triggering to people. It might feel invalidating based on what you've heard before. Um, my job here in my mind is not to reinforce the fearful things your doctors may have told you. My job here is to instill hope, help you feel like you can find your unique recovery, and kind of shift these really threatening thoughts that we can have about our bodies, shift them to something more neutral. I'm not saying something more accurate or something invalid, right? Something more neutral. So I'm going to take a stand here and I'm going to challenge that idea that pain is permanent, that movement is dangerous, that your body is fragile. And I'm going to intentionally flip the script here. And I want to reveal why this thinking does not align with the latest understanding of pain science and the resilience of the human body. And here's why these beliefs are false. Again, when you've had chronic pain for more than 6 months, movement's not dangerous. Assuming your doctor has ruled out red flags, and it's good to ask, like, is my body safe to move? Movement is not dangerous. It's actually the key to recovery. So, avoidance of moving reinforces pain sensitivity. It makes your body more sensitive rather than preventing harm. It actually makes your body more susceptible to harm. Pain does not always equal damage. When we experience pain, it doesn't mean that something is breaking or tearing or being damaged. Pain is often our brain's overprotective alarm system, and especially in chronic pain where the nervous system has become hypersensitive. And the truth here is that gentle, purposeful movement retrains your brain and your body to view activity as safe. This process is known as graded exposure. It allows your nervous system to recalibrate, to reduce oversensitivity, and over time, movement can rebuild strength, it can rebuild flexibility, it can rebuild trust in your body and break that cycle of avoidance and fear. So, the other place I'm going to flip the script here is that pain is not permanent. Your brain can relearn safety. So your nervous system is constantly changing and adapting through something we call neuroplasticity. A great example of this is someone who's had a stroke and they're relearning how to walk. The belief that pain is permanent disregards and just kind of like, and it's very black and white, right? To say that my pain is permanent, it will never go away. This disregards the brain's ability to form new pathways and rewire its response to pain signals. You can change your pain. And when you provide your brain with consistent positive messages of safety, and this can happen through everyday moments in your day. This is literally what I do all day, every day. I help clients find these everyday opportunities to share safety with their nervous systems. Then you can calm that overactive alarm system that's driving your pain. So, techniques like mind body techniques, engaging in meaningful activities in a really intentional manner, pacing, baselining, rebuilding routines, stacking habits, forming rituals. All of these meaningful changes can help shift your brain out of a fear based state, and this can reduce pain sensitivity over time. The other place that I'm going to flip the script here is this idea that your body's fragile. This stems often from outdated fear-based messaging that ignores the body's incredible capacity for healing and adaptation. So fragility is often a perception that's fueled by fear and not an actual fact about your body. And again, it's good to have all the facts. You want to talk to your doctors about these red flag or dangerous things, like actual ways that you could cause harm to your body. But I actually find that most clients I talk to that have had pain for many years, maybe they were told not to lift when their pain was acute, but then they forever thought they shouldn't lift. But when they actually go to ask their doctor, am I safe to move? Can I do this? Can I do this? Their doctor will say yes, like slowly return to movement. And your body is designed to heal, to adapt, to grow stronger when it's challenged appropriately. Now, if we push through always to a point of flare up, that's not the way to do it. And that's often what I see. But trusting this resilience in your body means gradually reintroducing activities that you've avoided. Each small success builds confidence and it reduces the brain's need to signal pain as a warning. So I want you to think of your brain like a smoke alarm. In chronic pain, the alarm is overly sensitive. It goes off at the slightest sign of smoke, even when there's no fire. And by feeding your brain messages of safety and gently challenging those alarms through movement and trust building activities, you can turn down the sensitivity of that alarm. The fire isn't real, your alarm just needs retraining. And so I don't want you to take that statement and feel like, well, but I was told I had this diagnosis or this diagnosis. I have an actual injury from 20 years ago that caused my pain and it's still there. I'm not invalidating all of these things. Those things are still there. And you may always have a diagnosis of that, right? What I am challenging is this idea that you can't change your experience of pain. Like your experience of pain is not at all permanent. We can change the way that we are experiencing pain. And if you haven't changed that yet, it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're not doing something wrong. None of this means that your pain isn't real or that you're at fault. And in fact, there are many people whose nervous systems get keyed up because they've had pain for so long and it's just the natural thing our nervous systems do. It's not your fault. But I'm challenging this idea that there's no way to change that just is what it is. I'm here to challenge that. I don't believe that. And if you're someone sitting there feeling my pain is permanent and it cannot change, that's fueling the threat. That's fueling the threat for your nervous system and keeping you in a keyed up state. I will acknowledge that everyone's recovery looks different. It takes longer for some people. It looks differently as it gets closer. It looks differently at the end for literally everybody. It's always different. But I am challenging today this idea that your experience that you're having right now is permanent. That's black and white thinking that I will not accept. So I'm here to shift that for you. And I just want to give you another example. One of my clients realized, how often she really avoided movement because she was really stuck in this state of high alert, thinking I just have to accept this. This is never going to change. My body's fragile. Interpreting even small sensations as threat. And by practicing safety messages daily, like reminding herself, this movement is safe. My body is capable. I can gradually build tolerance. And pairing that with gentle, intentional actions, she really began to calm her brain's fear response. So, initially she would start an activity and immediately her brain would try to protect her with pain. But over time, her brain could slowly start to associate these movements with safety instead of danger. It reduced her pain. It gave her more tolerance to build movement, and it helped her feel more confident in her body's abilities. This is a huge safety generator for the brain. And so here are 3 ways that you can calm your brain and ease your pain. And again, we're trying to reteach the brain with safety. So instead of avoiding movement or scanning for pain, the key is to retrain your brain and your nervous system to feel safe in your body again. And we do this by introducing safety messages consistently in everyday moments, by gradually reintroducing movement and focusing on that mind-body connection. And I'm going to talk through all 3 of these. So first, we want to begin by feeding our brain with calming messages. This movement is safe. My body is capable, resilient. This is a signal. This sensation is a signal that my brain is sending me. Now, this isn't like mindset or psychology or any of this woo-woo labeling you want to apply to this. This is science, right? When we tell our body that it is safe, it's capable and resilient, that turns down the edginess of our nervous system. If those statements don't feel authentic to you, you can even say just, this is a sensation that's being created by my brain in this moment to protect me. And even still, that is more neutral than some of the fear-based things we very naturally say to ourselves in moments like this. You are at no fault if your brain goes to a very fear-based place, because that's a really natural response. I'm just talking about shifting it because we don't have to stay there. So we want to repeat these affirmations during moments of stillness or as you engage in gentle, non-threatening movements. These words can help reframe the brain's interpretation of sensations and shift from fear to safety. The second piece of this formula is that we want to gradually reintroduce movement. So we want to start with small controlled actions that feel manageable, the low-hanging fruit, like picking up something light, stretching gently for 5 minutes, whatever is the low-hanging fruit for you, and that's different from one person to the next. But the goal that I want you to keep in mind is that we're trying to show our brain that these activities are not harmful. Over time, as your confidence grows, you can increase the range or the intensity of movement to rebuild trust in your body. And the third part of the formula is that mind-body connection. So instead of hyper-focusing on pain or stiffness, we want to practice mindfulness, breathing exercises. We want to do the things that turn down the stress response, that turn down the edginess of our nervous system. And you may think this is woo woo or a fad thing right now, but mindfulness, somatic tracking, breathing exercises, these are great ways to do that. Science backs it up. Sorry to say. But for example, we want to take a deep breath and focus on the flow of our breath as we lift an item. Anything we can do, or sandwich an activity with breathing exercises, right? Anything that breaks the brain cycle of fear and interrupts that automatic threat response. And these practices can help your brain relearn that your body is safe, reducing the cycle of fear, amplifying your progress toward pain relief. And as you can see, this is not about guessing, it's not about hoping. I'm not blaming, faulting, invalidating. It's just about a shift. It's about hope. It's about recognizing you don't have to stay in this permanent stuck place where you are. What it looks like, what your journey toward recovery looks like, is unique to you. But all of you can know that you don't have to stay in a very permanent stuck place. If you're trying, if you're doing everything you can and you're not seeing movement, that's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you're bad at this. It doesn't mean that your pain's not real. It doesn't mean that you're at fault. It's just hard. And DIYing this is hard, right? But it is about recognizing that the brain and the body can change. We can make shifts. Maybe they're super slow right now, but we can make shift. And it's also about seeing clear, actionable steps that can over time make a real impact. So within the coaching calls of my program, for example, I'm working with clients getting into the nitty-gritty of their day. We're talking about how we can fine-tune their day-to-day choices, how they flow through their day, the strategies that they use, the approaches, the patterns that drain them, that place pressure on their nervous system through no fault of their own, and beginning to understand what could genuinely fuel recovery over time. So it's a method that doesn't just react to pain, like where we're not just reacting to pain anymore, but we're proactively creating a sustainable path forward that doesn't hurt so damn much. And today's teaching is just one element of my comprehensive anti threat system, which is designed to empower you at every level by mastering mind body literacy, aligning your actions with your values, and establishing a healing rhythm that heals you over time. The system equips you, it accelerates this process by equipping you to make powerful shifts that not only relieve your symptoms, but creates a lasting sense of balance and control. And that brings back your vitality. It brings back the joy. Okay, so if you found today's discussion insightful, if you're ready to benefit from a new perspective on how to approach your day, how to approach your sensations, how to approach movement, I invite you to book a call with me. And this is a no pressure call. I truly love doing these calls. Think of it as a pain diagnostic, like a pain recovery diagnostic call where we're literally taking a diagnostic look at how you're moving toward pain recovery. We're not faulting you for it. We're just finding a new way forward. And so during this call, we'll dive into your current pain management strategies. We'll identify the key areas where you can make impactful changes. We can talk about how my program and approaches like the helicopter view can leverage your strengths and skills so that you can break free from a cycle of temporary fixes or fixes that you just don't feel like are helping you, strategies that you're working so hard every day and these strategies aren't helping as much as you had hoped, and just empower you to move forward with self-led success. So drop me a message if you want to DM and chat about it, or comment book below, or you can just click the calendar link that I have put in the comments. Alternatively, if you want to discuss further before booking, like I said, you can send me a DM. They are always open. The last thing I'm going to say is I sort of updated one of my guides. So I have a new guide available. It's free. I'm just getting the link here that I'll put in the comments. I'd love for you to check it out. Let me know what you think. And again, just feel free to message me anytime. I'm genuinely here to support you. If you have any questions, comments, feedback on this often very triggering subject, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love talking about this stuff. So there's the link for the guide in the comments right now. I don't see any questions right now in the chat, but you can always add them if you're watching the replay. And I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.